Welcome back, Tribe. What you're about to see is a private community call. If you haven't already, or if you're interested, links in the description below to sign up. And today we're covering those pretty cool community posts from ChatGPT, basically talking about if he were Satan, how he would destroy a young man or men and women coming together. And the answer was kind of crazy. So let's get into it. So prompted ChatGPT asking him if he were Satan, how he would destroy a young man. And I mean, Satan can be anything. It could be economic disparity, like Marxism, gender ideology. You can insert X for whatever you want. But basically, this is how you would control a man with, the tools of modernity that society puts in your face today. So he says, if I were Satan, my approach to stopping a young man from reaching his potential would be slick. I wouldn't come at him with horns and fire. I'd come at him with distractions so subtle he wouldn't even notice they were sabotaging him. Here's how I'd play it. And then number one is feed him comfort. I'd flood his life with easy pleasures, Netflix, porn, fast food, endless scrolling on his phone. I'd make these things feel like small, harmless indulgences, the kind that seem like they don't matter in the grand scheme of things. But over time, they chip away at his willpower. Every time he chooses comfort over discomfort, every time he opts for pleasure over purpose, I'd win. It's death by 1,000 cuts. You keep doing that, and pretty soon he's soft, weak, and feels powerless to change. And that's why I rag against video games, against Netflix, against, any media that you're consuming today. All of it has been hijacked. There's always an ulterior message underneath. They're pushing woke and all this other kind of ideologies on you. Even in video games, dude, everywhere. All the last bastions of men gathering, is even you can consider that a video game thing online. That's all been taken away and is being policed in some way. So number two, and by the way, the death by 1,000 cuts is because you're retraining your dopamine receptors, you're rewiring your neurons in a way that chases instant dopamine hits. So you don't have the staying power to chase long-term goals in real life, right? There's a double-edged sword here. Although you're getting pleasure, it's at the cost of your ability to do things in the real world. So two, convince him there's always tomorrow. Procrastination would be my biggest weapon. I'd whisper in his ear, "You've got time, bro. Relax. You can hit the gym tomorrow. You can start the business next month." I'd make him feel like he's in control because he's planning to improve, just never today. That's the key. If I can keep him waiting for the perfect moment, he'll never act, and time will slip by until it's too late. So there's no such thing as perfect or the perfect conditions for you to begin or the perfect moment. Starting is all it matters. Just one foot in front of the other. Begin today with very little or no information. As problems arise, as obstacles get in your way, you learn to solve them right then and there. But you'll never have the perfect conditions, the great night's sleep, the idea, the motivation, the energy. That never will come. It's a facade. It's fake. It's every day is going to suck. You won't sleep well. Your clients are yelling at you. Your business seems to be crumbling. You have a problem that may absolutely make you go upside down, in the red. Who knows, man? You got to get this and that and whatever it is, right? There's always something that happens, whether you're pursuing starting your own business or trying to lose weight or something. You'll hit roadblocks along the way. It's completely natural, but there's always a way to solve them. But if you constantly wait on the perfect moment to start something, anything at all, you'll never start. And that's a trap in and of itself, right? And then that's tied in with the number three, which is fill his mind with doubt. I'd plant little seeds of doubt in his mind about his worth, his abilities, and his goals. I wouldn't need to scream it. A whisper is enough. You're not good enough. No one will care. What if you fail? That kind of mental warfare, if left unchecked, will rot him from the inside out. He won't even try because he's already defeated in his head. And this is something I've read in the comment sections, and they'll be under this video too, because I'll post it on the main channel. Guys will say, but not everybody can start a business. A business isn't for everybody, or not everybody can go to the gym or want to work out and all this stuff. It's like all bullshit excuses. Everybody can start a business. I didn't say you have to become a multinational corporation. You can work for yourself. That's a business. If you're a carpenter, if you know how to weld, if you went to school and you got HVAC or electrician or whatever it is, man, you can teach yourself a skill. You don't even have to go to school. It's just any skill. You can go fucking mow lawns. You can make a business out of it. Begins mowing your neighbor's lawns and then your whole subdivision and then, all the neighborhoods within your area. And then, now you got a landscaping company, of you. It doesn't mean you have to have employees or anything, but being self-employed. I should even stop using the word starting a business, but becoming self-employed is entirely possible for every single person here. And surround him with weak people, number 4. I'd make sure his circle is full of people who think small, who don't challenge him, who are stuck in the same cycles of mediocrity. They'd encourage his bad habits and celebrate his lack of discipline. And even if he had a spark of ambition, it would be extinguished by their negativity, laziness, and bullshit. Misery loves company, and I'd make sure he's surrounded by plenty of it. So if you got friends you've ever shared your grand plans with and they shut you down, those are the crabs in a bucket. Get rid of them. If anybody zaps your energy away when you're trying to speak with them about an idea you have in your head or something you're looking to pursue, a goal, or I'm trying to lose weight and do this, and they laugh in your face, those are not your friends. Those are crabs in a bucket. Get rid of them. People that you hang around should always be your support system. Like, no matter what you say, you have an idea, no matter how grand it is, they'll always push you to try it. If you failed, that's okay. At least you tried. You're going to learn something incredible. That's the mentality of successful people. No idea is too grand. I may fail along the way, but the important lessons come in the failures, which I'll apply in the next idea, which I'll apply in the next idea after that. And eventually one of these ideas will hit and they'll be successful. That's all success is, a series of failures until it isn't. So number 5 is give him success, just enough to make him settle. I wouldn't try to destroy him outright. I'd give him just enough success to make him feel like he's made it, enough to settle. A mediocre job, a decent relationship, a body that's in okay shape, nothing extraordinary, but just good enough that he stops pushing. Complacency is my best friend here. I let him believe that good enough is the best he can do. That'll keep him stuck in neutral for the rest of his life. Number 6, make him worship distractions over discipline. And I've seen this one too in the comments. I'd glorify the things that steal his attention and vilify the things that would build him. I'd make being disciplined look boring, rigid, and pointless. Why work out when you can chill with your boys? Why wake up early when you can sleep in? I'd turn discipline into the villain and distractions into the hero. Make him addicted to entertainment, always chasing the next thrill instead of pursuing his purpose. And that's all that needs to be said on that one. People know exactly what that's talking about. Don't try to cope with it. Understand that you're partaking in it and make a change. 7, convince him he's a victim. Finally, and this is the last one too, I'd make sure he feels like everything is out of his control. I'd make him blame society, the government, women, his upbringing, whatever. The goal is to make him feel that he's powerless and nothing he does will change his circumstances. Victimhood is a prison, and I'd throw him in, lock the door, and toss the key. By the time I'm done, he wouldn't even recognize that he's been conquered. He'd think he's just living life, while inside he's dying slow, his potential wasted. I wouldn't need to destroy him with force. I'd destroy him by letting him destroy himself. And that's essentially encapsulating what every soft man or guy struggling today is in the midst of. It's all self-destruction. It's a combination of procrastinating. It's a combination of distracting yourself with, cheap thrills, the easiest, cheapest, quickest dopamine, least resistance, feel good that they could possibly find in their lives. And they'll always externalize their problems. That's the most insidious part. It's never my fault. It's society's fault. It's the girl's fault. It's my job's fault, my parents' fault. And it's true. It's a half truth to an extent. Yes, some of that is responsible for how you turned out as a person, but you assume full responsibility when you're a grown man to fix your own problems, right? To understand you have these traumas, these shortcomings, these issues that you have to work on. I can't look at you in the same lens like a 16-year-old who's maybe throwing a fit, getting in trouble, getting arrested, running with the wrong groups. He's 16. He's finding his way. But if you're a 29-year-old man, you're a grown man that's had at least 10 years of self-introspection to figure out why it is that you do what you do, what makes you tick, and what makes you get out of bed. Why are you the way you are? Okay. And if you're even older than that and you haven't figured that shit out, it all rests on your shoulders. Nobody's coming to save you. There's no empathy from society. If you're 45, 50 and you haven't asked these profound questions about yourself, don't expect your victimhood to get you brownie points like it does for the other side. Society looks down on men that are victims. They're disgusting. And the sooner you learn that, the faster you'll stop victimizing yourself. Okay. So big thing here on this post alone, how a man destroys himself, is essentially, it's not an outside source's work. This is all internal, guys. It's every day. The point at which you've arrived at is the sum of all your actions. Okay. This isn't like an accident that you are exactly where you are. We can go back. If you had a photographic memory, every single turn and decision you've ever made in life has arrived you at the exact point that you're at. The power in that is that you control this and you can change if you want to. If not, you can stay the course and you will end up in some, mediocre shit life that you're going to hate and wish you could exit from permanently. And some men have already started taking that route. So I always recommend the self-improvement groups like this, keeping each other accountable, get up and move, do everything in your power because that is exactly in your power. You can't control the government, the morons. You can't control women. You can't control any external forces, society at large. But what you can control is every day, the moment you get out of bed, it's the decisions you make. That's the only power you have as a man. And that's all the power you need. So then the next post is, I asked the same thing. If he were Satan and my mission was to keep men and women from reaching their full potential together, the last thing I'd want for them is to align and complement each other. That kind of unity would be dangerous. So here's how I'd go about it. So this is how to destroy men and women together. What I find interesting about this in the last post is the red pill in general is such a superficial argument of blaming women, women's fault for this, feminism's fault for that. Again, it's a small chunk of an overall much larger puzzle to why society ended up the way it did. But men are fixated, almost tunnel vision with the things that they can only see right in front of them. For example, women, because we're so, for lack of a better word, addicted and focused on women, obviously because sexual desire and what it is to be a man and wanting a woman and children and a family and all that stuff and to be loved and, everything that encompasses what a man is involves having a woman on his arm. And so if that's what you're seeing right in front of you, the degradation of feminine qualities and, harpies on the street, and maybe you got rejected really hard, or she treated you badly, or the date went wrong, or God knows a multitude of millions of things that could have happened to you. And then you're watching content that's just like absolute low IQ bozo spouting off the craziest shit. Like, I have 7 boyfriends, or I do this and that, and I cheated and did that and whatever. And it's like you're further reinforcing that tunnel vision, right? You're confirming your own bias. That red pill kind of conversation at large is so superficial when looking at it from a societal level like this, that we got issues from absolute like culture down. It's not just men and women. It's how we lead society, politics, right? The republic that we're supposed to be living in, that's turned into a feminized democracy. The laws we're instituting and legislating, right? Think DEI and think gender ideology and all this other crazy shit. All of this sows further division, erodes the family. I mean, we have legislation that, for example, we all know this one. If you're a single mother in the United States, the government will play daddy for you and help you. If you want to get out of your marriage, the government will back you in courts and kick the man out of the house, and then he will pay, but also the government will pay. So you're incentivized to leave and create a broken home. That's legislation. That has nothing to do with women. That's the way we legislate. Men put those laws into power. It's men who are the blame for creating more broken homes, right? The conversation's so much deeper than women this and men that. And that's what we're seeing, because on the surface level of culture, that's the easiest stuff that gets a lot of views. It's like racing to the bottom, essentially. Any bozo with low IQ can see that that's wrong. But when you peel back the onion layers and be like, but how did we get here? It's where the conversation completely falls apart, because no one wants to have that. So that's kind of why I stopped doing the women videos anyways recently, because I always kept repeating like, hey, these are just NPCs. Like these people seem like they're brainwashed, like they're indoctrinated, like they don't do any thinking. That's really what you're seeing, because I asked ChatGPT about women, and it was basically encapsulated everything we said about how they're brainwashed. Social media rots their minds, completely takes over everything, and makes them unhappy, puts them on pills. They'll never feel like they're enough, yada, yada. So that's the way we said to destroy women is very similar to the way you destroy a man. But a woman, you make her into a narcissist. You focus on herself, never feeling like she's beautiful, always comparing to other women that are the ideals of perfection that she could never reach, right? And then you get a person in an emotional state, which women are more emotional than men. You can control them to do almost anything, right? So it's like, why not tell them, well, go be a man, go sleep around, go chase a career, shun family, children, collect dogs, cats, drink wine, party, take strange dick nonstop. And then like, how do you expect a person to come out of that with a positive, healthy self-esteem that's mentally stable and could even have kids in a stable family if they wanted to? They're so broken, that any relationship they enter to will fail. Okay, that's the manipulation on the women's side, but you won't hear red pillars talk about that, because it's just women bad and we get views and we get paid. It is what it is. So now, to destroy a man and a woman from coming together, number one here is promote division over cooperation. So he says, I'd make sure men and women are constantly at odds, not seeing each other as allies, but as adversaries. I fan the flames of gender wars and magnify every misunderstanding until they think the other side is the enemy. I turn what should be a partnership into a power struggle. Women would be told they don't need men and that men are obsolete. Men would be told that women are manipulative and untrustworthy. Both sides would feel isolated, bitter, and defensive. Divide and conquer, that's the strategy. Does that sound familiar? Number two, make them focus on superficial desires. I'd shift the focus entirely to surface level wants and desires. Men would be told to chase beauty, sex, and status, while women would be sold the lie that their worth is tied to appearance and independence alone. I'd make sure they never dig deeper, never look for the qualities that actually build lasting relationships: loyalty, respect, shared values, and growth. Instead, they'd be stuck in a loop of shallow interactions, chasing dopamine hits without substance, while real connection and purpose fall by the wayside. And then number 3 is turn them into narcissists. I'd encourage both men and women to be obsessed with themselves. Self-love and self-empowerment, taken to an extreme, become pure narcissism. Men would be hyper-focused on becoming alpha for the sake of ego, while women would be told to prioritize themselves above all else. I'd make sure they're so wrapped up in their own reflection that they can't see beyond their individual desires. If they're too busy worshiping themselves, they won't even consider what they can build together. I'd keep them stuck in a loop of individualism that kills any hope for mutual growth. Number 4 is break down traditional roles and values. It says I'd attack anything that stood the test of time: marriage, family, commitment, even traditional gender roles. I'd twist those things to look outdated and oppressive. I'd make men afraid of leadership, make women reject nurturing, and paint marriage as a trap rather than a union that builds strength. I'd make sure they believe freedom is found in avoiding these roles rather than embracing them. By tearing down the foundations, I'd ensure they have no structure, no stability, no purpose together. And that's a doozy in and of itself. Number 5, encourage temporary instant gratification over long-term growth. I'd make sure they're both addicted to short-term pleasures, hookup culture, casual relationships, quick hits of validation. That's where I'd lead them. Long-term commitment and sacrifice would seem unnecessary and foolish. I'd convince men they're better off chasing as many women as possible without responsibility. And I'd tell women that focusing on career status and empowerment means they don't need men for anything more than occasional validation. Both would chase immediate satisfaction, but never long-term fulfillment. Number 6, destroy communication. I'd make it impossible for them to communicate effectively. Instead of listening and trying to understand, they'd shout at each other or shut down completely. I turn every conversation into an argument, every disagreement into a full-scale war. And if that wasn't working, I'd make sure they communicate only through text or apps, never sitting down to actually talk and connect. Without real communication, they'd never be able to build trust or align on goals. And that's where their potential would die. Number 7, make feminine energy and masculine energy incompatible. It's a big one that we're seeing today. I distort their natural energy so they clash instead of complement. Masculinity is meant to protect, lead, and provide, would be twisted into toxic aggression or indifference. Femininity, which nurtures, supports, and builds, would be twisted into cold independence and manipulation. I'd make sure that men view their masculinity as oppressive and that women feel like femininity makes them weak. They'd both abandon their core strengths and end up miserable, chasing ideals that don't suit them. And lastly, number 8, convince them they don't need each other. At the core, I'd keep hammering the idea that they don't need each other. I'd make men think women are only good for short-term pleasure and nothing more, while I'd tell women that men bring nothing but drama and baggage. The idea of partnership, sacrifice, and growth together, I'd frame that as old-fashioned and unnecessary. I'd sell them on independence so hard they'd be too proud to admit they need each other to reach their full potential. If they never come together, they'll never build anything bigger than themselves. How would I stop them? He says, I wouldn't come after them with force. I'd use culture, social media, and trends of the time. I'd make these ideas so prevalent in movies, music, and social platforms that they'd absorb them subconsciously. No need for obvious evil. It's all subtle. I'd appeal to their pride, their desire for freedom, their fear of vulnerability, and their craving for pleasure. I'd slip these ideas into their daily lives until they all feel natural. By the time they realize what's happened, they're lonely, disconnected, and stuck in patterns that keep them from ever fulfilling their potential, individually or together. And that's exactly where I'd want them. So we'll go open forum on this one, and feel free guys to jump in and talk about some of the points on this one.